Hello everyone, to your OS Reviews. You're watching our hands-on review of the LAView 1PT, which stands for 1 point. And this is a pan and tilt security camera, and you're probably thinking, oh no, it's another one of these. But there are actually a few features on here which are unique that we've never seen before on other home IP cameras in the past. First of all, it retails for about $55, which is fair, a little bit more expensive than average, but the unique feature here is motion tracking. Well, basically because it has motors on both its base as well as pointing up and down, using the software app, it's able to locate if movement is being detected by a person or an animal, and you can just let the app track a object as it moves across the room using its motors. So that's actually pretty cool. As long as someone is walking in reasonable speed, it's able to record their movements across an entire room and then focus only on that one person, which can actually give you more details if you're reviewing footage and trying to look at evidence. So again, some pretty unique features on here. One other feature that's interesting is it has both day and night high resolution because the company claims that this model has night vision in full color. So that's also pretty new. It's a new feature. Instead of only being in black and white monochrome, which is more standard, it's going to be viewable like in daytime in full color. And inside we have just the camera itself. Taking a closer look at it in a second, it has a very large kind of head. The base is actually much smaller than the head, which gives it a kind of strange look, but very interesting. On the side here, there's also a pamphlet with a QR code that you can probably scan with your phone to connect it to the camera for the first time. Warranty card, there's also a few stickers that you can put maybe on a window. Doesn't make that much sense because this is a model that's only meant for indoor usage. It's not waterproof, so keep that in mind, and also needs to be plugged into power at all times to be operational. It's a pretty simple solution because most of these home security cameras are set up in less than 30 seconds and you're ready to go. Basically plug it into power, bind it to the app, and you're done. There is a small speaker and mic combo on the very bottom here because there's also two-way communication, so you can use the phone and talk into the phone and it will try and push that voice message over using the speakers on the camera. So you're able to communicate like a walkie-talkie to whoever is in the other side, maybe a family member, something like that. We have the LAView logo, and on the back here there's also an Ethernet port if you want to use wired internet and not Wi-Fi. This one does not have an antenna, so it seems like everything is integrated. Hopefully reception quality will be good. On the base here there's also rubber feet that prevents it from sliding around as it's doing its pan and tilt motion. As a quick size comparison, we recently reviewed the Foscam R2C, which is another pan and tilt full 1080p IP security camera. They retail for about the same, but I have to say that on paper, LAView has more features like motion tracking in real time, which this one does not, and the color night vision. But Foscam is a company that has a slightly longer history, and their app also works really well. We've tried it before, so we have to see if this stands up later on in this video. So here's the initial boot, and first impressions is that the motor for the rotating head is spinning a lot faster than the Foscam and on the Xiaomi Mijia cameras. So it seems like you're going to get a faster rotation as well within the app when you're controlling it, which could be a good thing if you're trying to find someone very quickly. The app that the 1PT uses is called LAView 1, and LAView actually has many different apps available in the Play Store, so make sure you select the correct one. They seem to make a different one for all of their different cameras and solutions, which can get a little bit confusing. But the most interesting thing about the setup process is after you've created an account and signed up using email, and when you connect the camera to Wi-Fi, instead of having a QR code pop up on your phone, which the camera scans like this to receive the information like your password, router information, and then connect. Instead, it uses a sound signal or a sound wave. So again, you type in the password on your phone, and then it says when you're ready, turn the volume all the way to high, and then send the sound wave to the camera, which picks it up using the microphones, and then somehow is able to connect. And the sound wave registration actually worked, which I'm really surprised about. In fact, it took about the same duration of time as scanning a QR code usually would take, which is about 20 seconds for it to listen and then connect to your home's Wi-Fi router. So I'm not really sure what technology they're using because when I tried listening to the sound wave, I couldn't hear anything. So it must be something that is outside of our hearing range that the camera is somehow able to pick up using its microphone. So first impressions is that the image quality is actually really, really good, at least in the daytime view. We just reviewed the Foscam R2C, which has about average performance. I would say it's a little bit grainy if you have low light, but on here you can see how clear in terms of details and how bright the image looks. Now that could be just because of the settings, they've cranked up the EV, things like that, and exposure settings, but you can tell how the image, at least to me, seems to be actually very impressive for a 2 megapixel sensor. I'm not sure if the camera is going to do it justice, but I'm seeing a lot of detail as well as a lot of accurate colors, very bright, vivid colors in fact. Definitely one of the better 2 megapixel full 1080p cameras that I've seen recently for action cams around $50. So good job there on the lens from Foscam. Otherwise, interface pretty simple. I can tilt the phone's display to have a full screen view. I can pinch in to take a closer look at details. It's a little bit jumpy here, but not too bad. And the latency also isn't too bad either. As I'm waving my hand here, it pops up a split second later. Now the Wi-Fi router is actually in a different level of the building, so for it to be doing so well, despite not having an external antenna on the back, is actually quite impressive. This is definitely the most quiet motor that I've seen yet out of any pan and tilt system. Typically, even with quiet ones like the R2C, there's still a little bit of noise if you listen closely, but on here, it's almost completely quiet, which is really impressive. And if someone is in the room, they won't be able to tell at all that it's recording them and moving around and tracking because it doesn't make any noise, despite the fact that it has a very small base. So impressive optimization there. I can also take a 360 picture, so that's a very cool software trick that I've never seen before on any other pan and tilt camera. So it will automatically rotate on its base 360 degrees and then stitch everything together into a large round image, which you can then see using Google Cardboard or a VR app or VR goggles, and then pan and tilt around the entire room or scene. So very cool that you get this feature as part of the motors and apps, so it's really thoughtful from this company. There's also the auto tracking mode, which is definitely the most interesting one and probably my favorite. Now it's not perfect, especially if you move a little bit too quickly or if you're too close to the lens, it's not going to recognize you as a person. But if you're about 3 feet, 4 feet away from the lens and it can see your head as well as your shoulders, it will actually track you across the entire room. So here's a 360 image that I just took, and it gets even cooler. There's a marking feature, so it remembers the precise location of the motor, and you'll actually be able to see that pop up on the viewfinder. So you can actually tap on the dog here, for instance, and it pops up into view. I can tap on the box here, and again, it pops into view. So everything is actually mapped into the 360 image with the motor's direction. And as for the live tracking, here's a quick demo. I'm hiding behind the tripod, so it's getting a little confused, but it actually works really well. Now, one thing I've noticed is, though, it doesn't tend to track as much in terms of up and down. It tends to want to stay in one place in terms of the axes of the camera lens, but the rotation along its base is actually very quick and precise. So I'm now going to try moving a little away from the camera and see as it tracks me. So I'm moving towards the left now, getting further. You can see it's tracking me very well. And now I'm going to get closer again to the camera lens, and it should track me back again. I'm walking at a normal pace. I've turned off all the lights, and right now we are in the night vision mode. Now, unfortunately, it seems like the default night vision is still in monochrome black and white, as opposed to being full color, so maybe that will be through an update or a more expensive version of the camera coming soon, so I'm not sure about that completely. But you can see here that at least the night vision mode does work fairly well. You can still make out a lot of details, despite the fact that in real life, everything is basically pitch dark. The red that you see here is actually invisible to the human eye. That's infrared. Only the camera lens can pick that up. So right now I am unable to see basically anything. It's completely dark in the room, but it's actually captured very accurately on the display here. I can still make out the text without any problems. And right now we're playing back a portion of the video here, and everything actually seems to be working really well. So it takes a few seconds to buffer, but everything is being stored through the LAVIEW servers right now, but you can see how it's actually very quick and responsive. The images still look fairly sharp. It's compressed a little bit just for it to load a little faster, around 720p, but if you download the entire clip, it should load back in full HD. And finally, under settings, you're able to see the status of the camera, including the IR light, notifications, so when motion has been activated, when to send a message to your phone to alert you, as well as time zone and firmware information. So that's been the LAVIEW 1 Full HD IP pan and tilt camera, and I have to say for $55 this is definitely my favorite wireless home security camera so far, just because it has much more features than your typical camera, from motion tracking that actually works, as well as the most silent motor I've tested out of any pan and tilt, let alone for this price point. Now, cons would be the fact that the nighttime mode seems to be only black and white. I'm not too sure about the color vision part, but I'm almost certain I read something in the advertising that said that. I'll check back on that and provide an update with that, as well as the fact that the pricing, again, $55, is still going to be a little bit more pricey than some of the cheapest pan and tilts, perhaps by Xiaomi under their Mijia line. You can find it for a little cheaper, but it's really around the same price. And so in general, if you're looking for a pan and tilt all-in-one security camera for in-house use, I would say this is definitely one to recommend, just because it has a great suite of software features, in addition to having a great sensor for the actual camera hardware, and the fact that you can capture footage both on the cloud for free, in addition to stored locally on a micro SD card. So be sure to check in the details in the description below for more information. But for now, this has been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews. This has been the LA View 1 Point.